backfield to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
Aaron Rodgers has finally been traded in a blockbuster to the Jets that will shake. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say it's going to shake the entire league landscape out here. But I'm Adam Wright with CJ Medeiros and Justin Tucker. Excuse me, no Justin. I'm very used to having him in here. This is an emergency episode because I will tell you this. What we were going to do is we were going to move our Tuesday episode to Wednesday, which we're still doing, by the way, for our mock draft, our second annual mock draft. Go check that out on Wednesday. But it turns out what it looks like it's going to be is we're going to make our episode 180 be an emergency episode for Aaron Rodgers. So what we are going to do for this episode is we are going to cover all of the ins and outs of this trade in 3 different segments. So we're going to start off with the Jets in this trade. How does this affect them? Did they win the trade? How do they look with Aaron Rodgers? Then the Packers. Did they get enough for him? We're going to cover how the Packers look after this trade. And then in the aftermath of this deal, how does this affect the entire league? What does this do for the league landscape? Is this good for the NFL to have another quarterback in the AFC? So without further ado, CJ, we are going to get started. How do the Jets look in this deal? So the specifics on this trade. So the Jets, they get Aaron Rodgers, obviously, the number 15 overall pick, a 2023 fifth round pick, and then the Packers, they get pick number 13 overall. So they managed to trade up 2 spots in this, essentially in this current draft in the first round, a 2023 second round pick, a 6th round pick, and a conditional 2024 second round pick, which could become a first round pick if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays, which is kind of a slam dunk because I don't think there's any way that he's barring some crazy injury that happens, God forbid. I think they're getting 2 firsts out of this. But CJ, what are your thoughts on the Jets in this trade?
Looking at it from the draft perspective, I think they got lucky that they still have a first-round pick after this. Because if you look at it, they literally just switched first-round picks. They get Green Bay's number 15, and Green Bay gets the Jets' number 13. So like I said, the fact that the Jets actually still have a first-round pick in this draft, I'd say is good GMing by Joe Douglas. But, of course, the real prize here is Aaron Rodgers. Now, remember when Christian McCaffrey was traded to the Niners and we called it a win-now move?
Yep.
Well, Aaron Rodgers just said, hold my beer. Because this, if you are a Jets fan, this is the ultimate win-now move. They can't draft quarterbacks. We've seen it time and time again. So now they went out and they've gotten a future Hall of Famer. And the offense they're surrounding him with isn't bad. They've got running back Breece Hall. You've got Rookie of the Year Garrett Wilson, CJ Uzomah as a tight end, and a halfway decent O-line paired with an elite defense. And you still have a first-round pick at number 15. So the ball's still in your court. And
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. It's fine. So I'm just saying this is the win-now move. Because if you don't win a ring with Rodgers, is it really worth it? Because he's getting up there in age, and last year he did take a noticeable step back.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have you have heard me on the show talking about how great of a job GM Joe Douglas has really done. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, he's drafted well everywhere else along the lines except quarterback. And he has gone top 5 in that. I believe top 3 actually. In top that department,
twice. Yeah.
He went.
Did he draft Darnold?
He drafted Darnold, and he drafted Zach Wilson. So he's done
2.
He's made his attempts at doing this, but who can blame him? Because we've seen in around that point in the draft, other players panning out, the Josh Allens, the Joe Burrows of the world. Who could blame him for taking the shots? Everyone has their Achilles heels, right? Everyone has their Achilles heel. And with Joe Douglas, it's no different. For him, he can't draft a quarterback. What does he do? He goes and he trades for Aaron Rodgers, which is the last piece of the puzzle for them to contend. They need a little bit of work on the offensive line. And I've also been on the show pretty adamant about the fact that they actually haven't been that bad with drafting offensive linemen.
No,
the only problem is,
other than Becton,
those offensive linemen, the guys that they have drafted, have their own Achilles heels, which has been that their bodies are made of glass. I mean, they when it's healthy, they actually have a pretty solid offensive line. They still need some work there, which is why I'm 100% sure that is the reason why they held on to the first round pick. Yeah. They're like, here, you can trade up 2 spots, and we'll get our offensive lineman that we need so badly. Whether that be a guard or center, God forbid, or a tackle, they need something there because
I would argue they go tackle personally.
Oh, absolutely. I think.
But the issue is now, if you look at the draft order, they're now one step behind their division rival New England, who also needs a tackle. And there's teams like the Raiders that could take a tackle. The Bears could take a tackle. Do you really see somebody like Paris Johnson or Peter Skoronski now falling to you? I mean, now that you move past New England, if Johnson or Skoronski are on the board, you are now not getting them. And maybe you won't even get Broderick Jones. You might actually have to settle for like someone like Darnell Wright.
I don't think that would be bad, though.
No, I don't think it'd be bad. It's just if you find yourself on the tail end of a run, where else do you go? Because you don't want to reach.
Honestly, I think the Bears are going to trade back. I think this is a little bit of a preview to our mock draft, and we're not going to do trades, but I will discuss this when we bring up the number 9 pick, which the Bears have traded back with the Panthers in. I think the Bears are going to trade back, and they're still going to take an offensive lineman, but they don't need a left tackle. They need a right tackle, and right tackles are much easier to find than left. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they found Braxton Jones in the 5th round of last year's draft makes things so much easier for them. And I think there's a very real possibility they're going to trade back again. That's besides the point. We're going to stay on Aaron Rodgers here. But I like just looking at the Jets in general for this coming year and perhaps years after if he stays in the league. I think that this team is a Super Bowl contender. This is a team that should be in the mix to win a Super Bowl. And I think they are honestly in it to win the division right there with the Buffalo Bills. I think they're right there. They have a defense that stacks up with them. They have an offensive line that honestly, I mean, the Bills' offensive line did not look that good last year.
No, it's not that great.
It didn't look great. So, like, quarterback, they stack right up against them. And honestly, running back, they're a little better. Even with Breece Hall probably not being at 100%, they're still probably a little better because I like Michael Carter. I think he's a good player. Yeah. They also have a very good young wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Obviously, the Bills have Stephon Diggs, but I think they're right there with them. And I think they are honestly head and shoulders above the Miami Dolphins and obviously our New England Patriots, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, but are we sure they're better than the Dolphins?
I think they are, yeah. Absolutely.
It's just, here's the thing. If you ask me which offense I trust more, I trust Miami's offense infinitely more than I trust the Jets. It's just that Miami's offense, plain and simple, is just more explosive.
Pass catchers, much more explosive.
Oh, yeah. But running backs is going to be an issue. And maybe if Tua's brain isn't fried. But, I understand. I would put them on the same tier, though.
I trust the Jets a lot more because they have the veteran guy. The guy who is an actual proven passer. Tua Tagovailoa showed
also regressed mightily last year.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with him and everything to do with the roster around him. It was a terrible roster. And I know we've heard that excuse before from Aaron Rodgers.
Well, at least
but this time it was real.
Weight.
This time
Yeah,
it was
fair.
real. And in the years where he was actually saying he didn't have anything, he was still playing very well. He won league MVP back-to-back years before this regressing year.
He should have won that second one.
He shouldn't have, but he was a runner-up, which he deserves credit for. He was at least the runner-up. You could at least acknowledge that.
Fair.
He had a very good year. He still had a good year.
Yeah.
I agree with you, by the way, but he won the award. It's over. But listen, this is a very good roster that the Jets have, that Aaron Rodgers is inheriting. Pretty good coach, it looks like. Robert Saleh looks like he has his stuff together. And a GM in Joe Douglas who actually, it seems, knows how to draft. And a defense that is ferocious, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I would say you might even be able to say it's better than the Bills. Actually, not even might. I would say yes, it's better.
Yeah. The issue is, though, with the Jets, you keep saying they're perhaps in position for a Super Bowl, but I just think they're too young. You know, they have a lot of young, hungry guys, but they don't have that killer instinct to compete yet. Furthermore, do you really see them beating the Chiefs or the Bengals? Bills, maybe, but I don't know. I would still argue that as long as the Chiefs have Mahomes, they're head and shoulders over everyone.
Did we see that?
Mahomes will destroy them.
Did we see that in the Bengals before they started contending? No, we didn't give them. We didn't give them a fighting chance.
Yeah, and they lost the Super Bowl too.
But they made it. But they made it past the Chiefs, and they very easily could have won.
How'd that work last season?
What do you mean?
Yeah, and then what happened when they met the Chiefs this season?
Yeah, their offensive line fell apart.
Yeah, after they supposedly fixed it. Take that as you will.
They fixed it, and then they all got hurt. You can't predict injuries. You can't predict injuries when you're drafting. You really can't predict any of that stuff. I mean, you can see injury histories, but there are players with long injury history who out of the blue just become football's Iron Man, and then you have guys who are clean, and then they start getting hurt out of nowhere. So it happens, right? You just can't predict the injuries. But I wanted to move on. So I will rest my case. I still believe the Jets will be a contender this year. It's just a very well-run organization now. The Jets, they look like they're turning things around, and they're going to be in contention for at least a year. But I wanted to move on to the Packers. A little bit more of an interesting case there. How are they going to fare in the aftermath of this deal? How soon can they contend? Will Jordan Love be the guy? Did they get enough for Aaron Rodgers? All those questions will be answered next. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. It's caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Swings it way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown!
Welcome back to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. Adam Wright with CJ Medeiros. All right, so we covered the Jets side of this Aaron Rodgers deal. Now we're going to look at the Packers. So just looking at the compensation that they got for him, they managed to swap picks, as we mentioned earlier. So they gave up number 15 for number 13 overall for the Jets. They also got a second-round pick this year and a sixth-round pick. And for next year's draft, they have a second round. At least it'll be at least a second round, and it becomes a first if Rodgers plays at least 65% of the plays. Which, I mean, that's most likely going to happen. Knock on wood. But I mean, just looking at the compensation here, this is a huge win for the Packers. Not to say that they won the deal, but they certainly were able to get a good amount of compensation where I didn't even think they were going to get a first, but they probably got two out of it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm kind of shocked that the Jets still have a first. I thought they would have taken New York's first, but it shows what I know. Now, they do have an extra second-round pick and an extra sixth and a conditional second-rounder next year, so that's good. So potentially you get 2 firsts. But the Packers get something a little different in terms of a victory. A drama-free locker room. They have finally rid themselves of the NFL's Kyrie Irving, because that's really what Rodgers is. He's now the Jets' problem, and they have Rodgers very temperamental, very enigmatic. The Packers literally just cut out all the drama, and now you can move on to focus on Jordan Love. Whether or not he pans out, that's something totally different. But it just seems like they've made peace with the in the locker room, and now they can rebuild. And I think that in and of itself is a massive reward.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big thing for them. But then again, I'm sure that's what they were saying. I'm sure that was what they were saying when they traded away Brett Favre to the Jets a little over a decade ago, right? I mean, that's definitely, I believe it was 15 years ago, right? They traded him in 2008.
Something like that.
My history could be a little off, but I believe that's probably, are they, I wonder if there's something wrong with the way they're evaluating the quarterbacks here, because they got Aaron Rodgers and now here they have Jordan Love. We'll see if he can even play, because he's shown flashes, but he's also shown that, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, he's been developing for Lord knows how many years. He better work out, because if this Jordan Love thing blows up in your face, that if you're Green Bay, that's just a really awful look for the organization if it turns out this kid can't play, because you drafted him, therefore pissing off your star, right? And which starts all the drama, and then you end up trading said star. And now if Love doesn't pan out, you have egg on your face, and then you lose some organizational credibility.
Yeah. So Rodgers was drafted in the 2005 NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was taken in 2005, his age 22 season, which there wasn't even a season because he hardly played. And then he hardly played for 3 years. And then in 2008, so yes, Favre was traded in 2008. After that, he still did not have the best season. He went 6-10. So 28 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Not a bad year statistically, but he still could not guide the team to wins in his first year. Then they won 11-5 in 2009. Then 10-5, 14-1. Then the rest is history. He's the bad man, as a certain man who works for ESPN calls him. But it took some time. It took 4 years from the time he was developed, from the time that he was drafted in 2005 to 2009, when he finally started winning them games. Because in 2008, the first year he started, he was not. It was not translating to victories. So they were. I mean, do we give Love that same timeline? Because I feel like you kind of have no choice but to, because he already has been sitting for a couple of years. So there might be a bit of a developmental season here.
I would think. I mean, if they're content to follow the same course, I think go right ahead. But this is a very different NFL than the NFL in 2008. The media is much more vicious. Arguably, the fans are as well. Social media is now a thing. All eyes are on him. I mean, could they follow the same course? Oh, yeah, absolutely they could. But I don't think they will, just because of how different this is.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to find out if this kid actually pans out. But with the roster that the Packers have, and especially with the picks that they got, what do they take now at 13? And if they whatever they take, do you think they will have anywhere near enough to make it back to being competitive again?
Not unless Jordan Love becomes like Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Because Mahomes came right out of nowhere and won MVP. Unless Jordan Love does something like that, I don't see it.
Yeah, so I think they should certainly go wide receiver at number 13. I feel like that should go without saying.
Yeah.
So they'll have that first round pick. They only have one this year, despite trading their star quarterback. But they definitely go wide receiver at 13. And if they go defense again at number 13 in the first round of the draft, then I don't know what I'm going to do.
Honestly, they might go tight end. That's what I've also heard.
They could also go tackle. If you think about it.
You don't think they would? No way.
They could. Listen, Bakhtiari isn't the same guy.
He's old and he's injured.
They might want to draft his heir apparent. If they do that, then maybe Rodgers was right to want to leave. I mean, Jesus Christ. You have a young kid now. Don't you want to build around him?
You know, edge is also a big need for Green Bay.
So they could go somewhere. They could go somewhere else other than wide receiver. Give their poor kid some weapons.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will have
go
to
in the
see.
second round.
Imagine how great of a story it would be though if right out of the gate, Jordan Love panned out.
I would prefer not.
Imagine if they met in the Super Bowl.
I'd prefer not.
Rodgers and what you want to happen is different, but Rodgers and the Jets go to the Super Bowl. Jordan Love and the young Packers meet them there.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the worst thing to happen.
I would be.
That would have some great
script makers any ideas.
Oh, the script makers. If the script, I'll tell you this much. If the script makers are real, it's going to happen. If the script makers are real, it's going to happen.
No, thank you.
It probably will. And honestly, it wouldn't be the worst story to cover. For us here, a year from now on the Fumblerooski podcast, we will be covering Jordan Love, the rookie of the year, the guy who won,
rookie of the year,
Jesus. I think young kid, and I'm thinking he's a rookie, even though he's been in the league for now 3 years. But I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers, old guy Aaron Rodgers. This is what I wanted in 2021 with the Patriots and the Bucs. This is what I wanted, but we didn't get it. Now we're getting the Walmart brand version of it. All right. So we're going to change gears here, and we are going to move to now the rest of the league, how it looks after this blockbuster trade. There is a lot to unpack here, and that is next. This is the Fumblerooski podcast. You're listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. Adam Wright, CJ Medeiros, brought to you by Power 88, Secret Weapon Consulting. So, want to take a look at the list of AFC quarterbacks now versus the NFC. In now that Aaron Rodgers is a Jet, let me go down the list here. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. This is for the AFC, by the way, in case you hadn't already known. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa. If you want to bring up Mac Jones, Aaron Rodgers now, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. Must I go any further? Even though I could literally bring up Kenny Pickett, who looks like a good young kid in himself. Must I go further? I don't even think I can, actually. Well, there's Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, just that list alone. And we've seen Ryan Tannehill on the Titans do well in the past. Let's look at the NFC now. Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff.
Ooh, I'm Justin Tucker. Kirk Cousins is top 10.
Geno Smith. End of list. And we can bring up Matthew Stafford, but that guy has been he's been a walking injury ever since they won the Super Bowl in 2021. That is like, look, just it's so lopsided. Whoever wins the AFC might be winning the Super Bowl. It's that bad. These players have been leaving the NFC ever since the end of last year. It has been so bad. Like, who is going? What superstar player is going to look at the NFC now and think, maybe I shouldn't go to the AFC? Maybe it's a little too competitive over there. Maybe I need to stay here in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts said. Congratulations on the contract, by the way. I wasn't on the episode when we were breaking it, but that was, I mean, listen, he may have been overpaid. However, at least we could applaud him for staying loyal to his team instead of fleeing to the AFC. Why? They're attracted to it like moths to a light.
Mm-hmm.
It is bad. This is just like it's going. I can't wait to see the AFC. I really can't. It's going to be so much fun to watch all these teams go at each other. But the NFC is going to look really bad, and like there's going to be a bunch of teams in the NFC here who are going to make it with a losing record. They are going to win their division with a losing record. And listen, I like a smooth path to the Super Bowl as much as anybody, but I also like it when the league is actually competitive. And it is in the AFC, but that's because everyone's going there. I mean, this is going to be interesting to cover. I'll say that much. Also, I forgot Kyler Murray, but who cares about him, especially since he's going to be out for 2/3 of the year.
Yeah.
But I'll throw it to you, CJ.
So basically, when you look at like how this changes the NFL landscape, I don't know. It's just, you and I are different in the sense that, how do I put this? I think we vary greatly on where the Jets are going to go. I don't see them competing for a Super Bowl. I mean, mostly just because I think the team's too young, but the NFC gets a lot weaker, gets a lot more top heavy. And then, then there's the AFC where it seems like everyone and their mother's competitive. Even teams that probably won't make the playoffs, like, like maybe the Chargers, the Patriots, teams like those, they could still give you a good run for their money. So,
yeah, you put the Patriots or the
Chargers.
You put the Patriots or the Chargers in the NFC, and they're quite arguably a top 4 or 5 seed.
Yeah, same thing with like the Raiders, maybe like Jacksonville.
The Raiders would be a playoff team, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But now in the AFC, I'm sorry. You keep talking.
No, it's fine. But it's just, I don't know how this really affects the landscape. I still think the Chiefs and the Bengals are the front runners, and the NFC is, just a lot weaker. And the only thing that changed about the NFC is that Green Bay is going to get worse. That further solidifies the hopes of literally everyone else in their division.
Yeah. I don't know.
Meh, and the Bears and Lions actually have expectations now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Bears have expectations. They can still only go up from here.
Yeah.
But the Lions, they have expectations. And if they wind up floundering, even in the early going of this year, they're going to receive a lot of criticism for that.
Yeah.
But let's stick with the Jets here. Just looking at the landscape of the league, I think they're right there with Buffalo. You can argue there are a lot of ways that they are better than Cincinnati, because Cincinnati has just been a flawed team the past couple of years. They've been contenders, but they have been that way in spite of a lot of weaknesses. That offensive line, it's gotten better now, but it has been very, very unstable the past couple of years. even after fixing it, they all got hurt, and then they were in the same boat that they were last year. The year prior. Excuse me. I think they're right there with Jacksonville. In fact, maybe a little better than Jacksonville. Yeah. I think they're better than the Chargers. I think they are easily right up there with the top 3 in the AFC, which would be the Chiefs, Bills, Bengals. I could mention the Jets in the same breath as all of those teams, at least for what they could potentially be. This could all blow up in their faces, and this could be the Denver Broncos Part 2. But I'm just talking about what they can potentially be. And I think what they can be is right there with all of the top teams in the AFC, because their defense is just that elite, and they have the pass catchers to complement Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers is a very good regular season quarterback.
Yeah, we've mentioned that how many times?
It's contention. It's contention. What they do in the playoffs it's another conversation.
Fair.
But I still think they're going to be a contending team. They will. As long as that offensive line is not in shambles, which I'm willing to bet it isn't. It won't.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. All right. So looking at the rest of as we wind down our coverage here, looking at the rest of this week. So we have this episode releasing tonight, Monday. You guys are seeing it right now. No fan box, at least in the early part of this week, like we usually put it out. We're going to put it out at the end of the week on Friday, because you guys are going to be busy with your draft, the NFL draft. And our Tuesday episode, which is going to be Wednesday, is going to be leaning heavily on our second annual mock draft. We will cover all of the top picks in this 2023 draft. So first segment will be top 10. Next will be the middle. So that'll be 11 to 20. Then it'll be 21 to 31. And it'll be 31 because there's the Dolphins decided to get naughty, which is fine for us because that's less work to project a team and a player going, in the first round. So less work for us in this mock draft. We'll separate it into 3 segments. It's going to be great. So make sure you guys tune into that. However, in the meantime, I don't have my outro in front of me. I usually like to read it. Going to pull it up right now. You have any thoughts before we end the show tonight, by the way?
I have the outro in front of me. That's my only thought. How is it I'm prepared?
Do you want to read it?
Oh, why? Thank you. You're very generous.
Go ahead.
Oh, wow. So that'll do it for us tonight. Thanks for listening to us. We have new episodes out on Tuesdays and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have all our podcasts available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and so much more. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.
Not next week, but we'll see you. We'll see you on Wednesday. Yeah, that's what it says usually, but we'll see you. We'll see you on Wednesday, guys. Over and out.